Good morning, everybody. Welcome to CW Live. My name's Chris Webb, Head of Communications. Delighted to have with me right now Mark Baulch, National Officer. Morning, Mark. How you doing, mate?
Morning, Chris. Not so bad.
Good man, good man. So we don't normally go live in the morning. We obviously recognise that the vast majority of you be working. And even if you've got a day off, you're probably out and about enjoying it in this decent weather. But, you know, obviously the session's available on Catch Up. And many of you now will be watching this, I'm sure, later on today and finding out what's going on. But the situation is getting more and more serious with Royal Mail. We obviously have the second ballot running and we need every single vote back because we need to get that over the line and we need the ability to be able to protect you against some of the outrageous changes that Royal Mail are proposing. But also, we want to give you regular updates, and that's what we've committed to. So we've got Mark right now. Just after midday, we'll have Davy Robertson talking to us about Parcel Force, and we'll also have an update from Terry Pullinger, Deputy General Secretary, later in the day as well. So this session is about deliveries. Obviously, it's what we got Mark on. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know how long you've been a union member. I can already see nearly 1,000 of you on, so that's fantastic, and so uplifting at this time in the morning. But Mark, if I can, I want to start with the fact you've been in negotiations with the company in recent days and weeks. And I wondered if you could give a flavour of those to the members, and then perhaps later on in the session, we want to talk about the executive action that we're seeing across the country and planned. I want to talk a little bit about getting the vote out and what people need to do in the next couple of weeks. But if it's okay with you, buddy, just to start off with negotiations.
Yeah, first of all, good morning, everyone. On the negotiations themselves, I know there are people saying, well, why are you sitting in with the company trying to, when we're running the ballot and all the rest of it, should be getting on with the action. We appreciate that, but also we've always said that we're a responsible trade union, and we will try everything we possibly can do through negotiation to try and move the situation on and to achieve agreements with the company. So that's what we've been trying to do. I have to say, and I'm quite experienced, been around and been in these situations on many occasions in the past. So this is not new to myself, and I have to say the negotiating team have also been in the room over the last few days this week. But I have to say that the company are not serious. The tone of the discussions is very different. I think the fact that I think they're holding us in contempt. And when I say us, all of us, I'm talking about our members. I'm big enough and ugly enough to deal with the rough and tumble of getting in the room and negotiating and all the rest of it. But the fact that I think they're being contemptuous towards your senior negotiators, but more importantly to you and members, I think is shocking. I think they're not serious about the discussions. I don't feel they're unprofessional in terms of how they're conducting themselves, how they're being dealt with. The subject matters which we're talking about, there's no consistency with some of those subjects. One rolls into the other. And then when you kind of probe on some of their proposals, they cut across one another. It's almost like they've sent individuals away to come up with proposals. And then once you, as I say, challenge some of those proposals or articulate or try to get underneath them, they contradict one another and they're not consistent. So it's like there's no join up with some of their positioning. And it's very frustrating. So we are trying everything we can do to move the situation on. But I have to say to you, I am not confident about a successful outcome of those talks. Far from it. I don't think they're interested. And I think, when we move on to the later stuff, the demonstration in some of the other things that we're having to deal with while we're sat in the room, while they're, moving ahead on executive action. They're hiring agency workers to replace our members whilst they're on strike, when we haven't even named or given notice of any action. It's a demonstration of where their commitment is, and it isn't in the room. If they had any real commitment, they'd be pulling all the stops out to try and sit down with us in a reasonable way, in line with our existing agreements. You've got to remember, everybody, that Now, the pathway to change agreement is only just over a year old. It's not like we're talking about some agreement that's been long-standing, that we've blown the dust off, and there's elements in there that are no longer applicable. This is a very recent agreement, an agreement which already maps out the future course in terms of revision activity, maps out the future course in terms of products and services, maps out a mutual interest and relationship, and also maps out a mutual interest solution and benefits for our members and for the company. And so it's only just a year old. There is no excuse for the company's actions in terms of the way that they're treating us and the disregard, complete disregard they have for our agreement. So it's a really tense set of discussions at the moment. We don't believe that they're at all serious. And I know Davey and Terry are also on similar forums like this today, and no doubt they'll be expressing the same thing. So it's really important, first and foremost, at the moment that you get the ballot papers back, that you encourage as much as you can do anyone who's coming back from leave to also remind them to fill in their ballot paper and get it back. And we need a massive yes vote, and a massive yes vote in order to try and move the company. But I really do think that we're heading for a big dispute. I don't think there's any way out of it, because the company's position on all of the issues is not moving. The company's position on all of the issues is completely unacceptable, and there is no margin at the moment for agreement whatsoever. So we're trying our best, as I say, as a responsible trade union, because we don't take your backing lightly. We don't do that. We're constructive people. We try as much as we can do when there's mutual interest to move things forward. But at the moment, I've got to say to you that the company are not in that place. They're certainly not, participating in a proper set of discussions in line, as I say, with our existing agreements.
Thank you, Mark. A great outline there, and obviously you can't see this, but lots of support from the members for the union's position. Lots of you asking about industrial action, by the way. We're going to come on to that shortly with Mark, and obviously Terry and Davey will comment on that as well in the sessions throughout today that are going to take place. I wanted to touch on, Mark, alongside what you were terming there, as a disrespect for the union. So therefore, as you said, you're in there on behalf of the members, not on behalf of yourself. It's disrespect to the members, ultimately, from the company you're seeing in those talks. Whilst you're in there having those discussions, outside of the room, we seem to almost now on a daily basis have like changes, or that Royal Mail are announcing an executive action that's taking place, which will potentially impact people's shift patterns, day-to-day working life, with regards to revisions, changes to parcels and stuff like that. What is your sort of message to members, and a bit of maybe detail there? Because some members, when we put up yesterday, about Royal Mail taking executive action and us needing to make sure we kept our calm and got the vote out, some members were unsure what that executive action was. So if you could detail that, I think it would be really useful. But also, once again, Mark, give your view on that.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I've already taken executive action on a couple of fronts. I've imposed the 2% pay, which you're aware of, which is an act of aggression, and their tenure. And this is what's making the talks even more difficult, not just because of the fact that their proposals are completely outlined with our existing agreements, but also while you're in the room trying to move some of that forward, you're also, especially these days in modern communications, you're getting texts and emails and inquiries of where you've got flashpoints that are appearing in different parts of the country, and approaches are being made on some of our existing agreements within delivery offices. So, for example, on the casuals, as I said, Royal Mail have employed a number of agency casuals. Now, their excuse for that is that they assumed that we were going to give notice of action, and therefore they've gone and recruited a number of agency casuals. And we've had examples of where they've been brought in and existing staff have been asked to come off of their own duties to facilitate an agency worker or agency workers. We're also having examples where people have been asked to train these casuals, which have been brought in to do our members work in the event of industrial action, to break our dispute and to inflame the situation. And so therefore, while we're in the room trying to resolve the issues, if that were possible, given Royal Mail's position, as I've said, equally, if that's not difficult enough, you've got a group of senior managers outside who are not in the room, who are clearly orchestrating plans to circumvent some of our existing agreements and inflame the situation. So their energy would be better off or better spent getting in the room, the people that are causing that disruption and causing that inflammatory action. They'd be better off getting in the room and resolving the dispute. So that tells you where Royal Mail are. They're not interested at the moment in sitting down with a senior negotiating team from the union. They're more interested in planning and plotting and scheming how they're going to break our members' resolve and break the dispute, and also break our agreements out in the field also, and undermine the collective will and collective strength of our members and our union. And obviously we know that ain't going to happen, but that's what they're attempting to do. In terms of some of their proposals, it's still very unclear because they haven't shared with us the detail. We had some correspondence over the weekend around the number of units that were going to be involved in what they're calling tabletop revision activity and also structural revision activity. But what's emerged through the discussion and what they have shared verbally with us when we pushed them on that as well was that the numbers that they'd articulated to us over the weekend are not the accurate ones. And so at the moment, it's unclear how many units are involved in their plans. These are unagreed plans. They're not agreed with the union. The targetry is not agreed. The criteria is not agreed. The revision process is not agreed. And they're also saying that they're not going to accept disagreements in localities. So effectively, they are just going to push on with unagreed revision proposals in virtually every office in the delivery office in the country. They're not going to engage meaningfully. They've drawn up plans outside of that. So those plans obviously won't include future benefits such as the further hours reduction in the working week as per the pathway to change commitments. It won't include commitments such as attendance patterns. Now we're already picking up that they're going to try and rip out people's agreed attendance patterns as part of their current working practices. They're saying they're going to want to push people later, increase the length of delivery spans in some cases, and they're going to try and push unacceptable productivity levels. And all of that, they're saying, is under the guise of an emergency plan, which they've developed. They haven't done that jointly with us. They've done that independently. They're going to be pushing on next week. Now, we've got a call with all of our reps on Monday. Obviously, we'll be advising them of what we, from what we can understand and what information we can gather from that. But they're up in the ante. There's no doubt that things are going to get tense. But they're going to attack your earnings. They're going to attack your attendance patterns, and they're going to say that all of that is without any benefit, and all of that effectively is not subject to the IR framework and is not negotiable. Now, that is completely unacceptable. That's what I'm saying to you. While you're sitting in a room trying to move some of these things forward in a responsible way, because as I said, that's what we are. We are responsible people and we're responsible trade union. While we're trying to do that, in other rooms and in other forums, they're out there effectively raising the temperature and undermining our position and ripping up some of our, or attempting to, some of our local agreements. So it's not an acceptable position. It's completely inflammatory, and it's designed, as I say, to inflame and worsen the situation. And that ain't the way to move things on. That won't be the way to improve the situation, certainly won't improve relationships, certainly won't improve the quality. And the other thing as well at the moment, we've got lots of accounts of management basically saying that because of their financial crisis, as they're outlining it, there's a restriction on overtime spend, there's a restriction on any spend, and that in many cases in many areas is already leading to quality of service failure and quality of service issues where the universal service is being jeopardized because they don't care about it. Their pipeline proposals demonstrate that. They couldn't care less about USO going forward. And they're already starting to demonstrate that effectively through making choices through budgets of not affecting quality of service. So it's a really tense and difficult situation. Our members need to stick together. Our reps need to stick together, and the union will stick together. I'm absolutely confident of that and have no doubt about that. But it's an extremely inflammatory position they're adopting, and it's one. Yes, we're in a dispute. Yes, we understand that relationships get tense when we're in this position, but they are making the situation much worse. They are not acting in the right way, not in the right spirit, and certainly not in line with our agreements. And therefore, we are on a path towards conflict. There is no question about that.
Thanks, Mark. That's fantastic. And again, loads of support for what you're saying. One of the things that's coming through, I mean, you just detailed there as you were finishing your answer that, we're clearly on a path to conflict. One of the questions that's being asked quite regularly from the members is like, essentially, what are we going to do about it? Why aren't we already on strike? When are we serving notice for strike action? Let's take them on, and a variant of those type of comments, basically. So, some feedback from you on that.
I mean, on that, look, we've made a decision, and for the right reasons, and we're absolutely sort of consistent with this. Our thinking that we wanted to run the second ballot on operational change. We needed to do that, so we will have two mandates because I've no doubt that you're going to give us a massive yes vote. But I do stress again, people haven't voted, or if they're on leave or whatever, you might be watching this and you're on holiday, or even if this is recorded and you come back from holiday and you haven't voted, please vote. It's very important. We need the turnout. We need a massive yes vote. And so we're running the two ballots. So we will have two mandates. Now, in terms of running or naming action while we're concluding our own second ballot, that would have been problematic because effectively, because it's a postal ballot, obviously we would impact on that, and so it isn't sensible to call action while we're running the second ballot. In terms of when we will be doing so or naming action, I'm pretty sure that we have a postal executive next week, and that will be. It's not a question simply for myself. That's a question for the postal executive. What action and when we name it, but I'm pretty sure the way things are going, unless there's an absolutely sea change in Royal Mail's position on all of the issues, and I can't see that at all, I'm pretty confident that we will be naming action fairly soon. But I want to say as well, we've tried to be responsible, and we always will be responsible. We don't take, we're a trade union that prides ourselves, and we've demonstrated that over many years that we value the support. We don't abuse that support that we get from our members, and we try everything we possibly can do through discussion and through negotiation to arrive at the right conclusions and the right agreements. That always remains our objective, and that's what we've been trying to do. But what's becoming more and more clear as we go through, and I've just said that, certainly over the last few days, is that the company are not reciprocating in terms of that approach. So rather than pick up that opportunity to discuss and to try and move some of the issues forward, what are they doing? They're out there inflaming the situation. They're employing agency workers to break the dispute, and they're doing everything they possibly can to wind our members up and to breach all of our agreements and treat our members with contempt. So I'm pretty sure that we'll be responding appropriately to their actions relatively soon, Chris.
Thank you, Mark. So in terms of the comments, we've got some brilliant ones. It'd be brilliant if those of you who have been able to join us live, which is over 2,000 of you, which is incredible given the amount of you members who will be at work at this time. I'm sure vast majority of people will be watching it back later on. But those of you who are watching, it'd be great if you could let us know that you voted yes, you're planning to vote yes, and actually, do you know what? It's got a bit more serious, isn't it? That you're behind the union if strike action needs to take place. So, let us know you voted yes. Let us know you're back in the union. Mark, just a couple of more questions, one of which will obviously be giving you the chance to sum up. This one, though, is around the need to get the vote out. So you've brought it all together here, Mark. You've laid it out really, really well and powerfully. Got lots of support from the members who are on board, undoubtedly. And what we now need to do, I think, is spend the next couple of weeks making sure that every single ballot paper gets back, so we have the mandate to defend ourselves. So just a word or two from you, Mark, on the importance of the meetings continuing. Particularly, right across the union, but we've seen some stunning images from delivery officers, haven't we, in the last few weeks in both of the ballots, but the need to keep those gate meetings going and make sure that we get every vote out, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing more important or engaging than face to face. These sort of things have their place, and through modern technology, obviously, communication is improved, and it gives you opportunity to speak directly to more people than you could do physically going around every workplace. Certainly from a national perspective, that is true. But what you can never replace and what you can't beat, and certainly when you do gate meetings, you do the meetings in the canteen or on the gate or wherever you do them, if you have them in the afternoon upstairs in a pub or whatever it is, they are the best meetings face to face, because you can make the connection better with the members. I think the members can engage, can ask the questions, can express whatever concerns they have, and it's a far more involved process. So absolutely urge and encourage everyone, if possible, don't leave any stone unturned, don't leave anything on the pitch at the end of this. And I don't, at the end of the ballot, say, well, we could have got a few more percent, if only I'd have got to that office and I didn't get there or whatever. Make sure that we get to every workplace that we can. Make sure that we engage with every member that we can, possibly. And as I say, make sure that we do everything we can to get the vote out and to get a massive yes vote and a massive return, because it is really important. You can't be face to face, as I've said. There is no real equal to it. It is the best format for engagement. So please, absolutely, please engage in that way, and let's get the vote out and let's get a massive yes vote, Chris. It's really important to do that. We still got, I think, what's the date? I forget off the top of my head now.
17th, buddy.
17th. So we've still got a little bit of time to get round and to make sure anyone we've missed or any workplaces we haven't had the chance to get to this week, to get to them and keep going. Get the images as well are great. They add to the campaign. They encourage other units that haven't had meetings maybe to have one. So keep getting the gate meetings, keep getting the images sent into Chris and the comms team. Let's make sure that we, as I say, leave everything on the pitch.
Thanks, Mark. So I want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us, because it's been absolutely brilliant. But I want to give Mark, just really, I know you were doing, really powerful message there at the end, but is there anything else you want to put across, buddy, that you haven't managed to cover yet in the session to close up?
I do because I said to you, the negotiations have been very difficult, but Royal Mail's positioning, I think that we're at a crossroads. It's probably the only thing that I agree with Simon Thompson on. He's been saying that, not that I take much notice these days of what he says, because I think he's completely lost the plot. But one thing he does say is that we're at a crossroads. And I agree with that. We are at a crossroads. We're at a crossroads in terms of the union's relationship with the employer. We're at a crossroads in terms of the employer's relationship with its own workforce, because I can't believe that a workforce that's demonstrated in the first pay ballot, and I've no doubt you're going to do that in the second one, the overwhelming support for the union's position and against the company's position, that the company then doesn't take notice of that. But believe you me, they're not. They don't seem at all concerned by it. They don't seem at all bothered by it. And in fact, they just seem to want to plough on regardless of what the workforce think. So we are at a crossroads in terms of those things, but we're also at a crossroads in terms of the service and where Royal Mail goes in the future. Because Royal Mail, with the proposals, particularly on the pipeline, will destroy the service, will destroy the USO, it will destroy the public ethos. It will absolutely dismantle everything that we've fought and protected over the years. In terms of the actual operational stuff on that, no one's starting before 8 o'clock in delivery. Last letter times of up to 5 o'clock and beyond. I think they're saying that 71% of people under their proposals of delivery members will finish between 1 and 2 hours later. But it's also, so that operationally that's not acceptable. But also from a public service point of view and from a USO point of view, you're already seeing that. Now, their lack of commitment towards letters, their lack of commitment to the USO. Imagine delivering out till 4, 5 o'clock in the winter months. It's just not practical. It's not feasible. You've also got the environmental impact on pushing people out in the summer, mid-afternoon into the afternoon when the day is at its hottest. None of it makes any sense. It will destroy also the customer service. And the reason they're doing all of this, they're saying that they want to reduce flights and carbon emissions and all the rest of it. And we've had some discussions with them yesterday on that. It all comes down to cost. And it all comes down to lack of commitment to the USO. The creation also of this 346 subset of hub offices for parcels is a foot in the door to two-tier workforce. And if you put all of your concentration onto a subset of circa 350 offices that will deliver parcels, which is all they're interested in, is that as the growth area. They're not interested in letters. Yes, we accept and know that letters is declining, but there are other things that we could be doing, other products and services that could help to reinforce the universal service and to protect it and to make sure that the companies run still for public benefit as well as capturing the growth areas. But they're not interested in that. They want to go diving off after the parcels, and their proposals will completely destroy the public service. They will completely destroy your terms and conditions because it is a foot in the door for a two-tier workforce. They will allow the universal service to wither on the vine, and they will put all their concentration into the parcels network. And in time, you can hear them saying it because they already say it already. You're 40% overpaid because that's where the parcel competitors are. And so therefore, this is just a recipe for decline. It's a recipe for short-termism. It's a recipe just to make sure that the people at the top of the company keep feeding themselves at the trough and making sure that the shareholders and the major shareholders get massive dividends and also can feed themselves at that same trough. It has nothing to do with the public service, has nothing to do with a commitment to a decent job, for decent working people and our members. It has everything to do with short-term cost reduction and gain for those types of people to the detriment of just about everybody else. So we're at a crossroads. I agree with that. But it's a crossroads that I'm telling you, and the union team, negotiating team, are also saying to you, we're determined not to blink on, because we believe we have the side of right on our side. We're the ones who have the public service at heart. We're the ones who have our members at heart and the workforce at heart. And we want to leave Royal Mail, when we leave it at the end of the day, we're all custodians, if you like, in decent hands going forward. This strapline of reinventing Royal Mail for the next 350 years, with their vision of that, I'm telling you, is not one that is acceptable to this trade union, and it's not one that's acceptable to you, our members, and you deserve a lot better.
Thank you, Mark. Fantastic. So thank you, first of all. I know you're busy. I know you've got loads on and you're doing more and more meetings. So first of all, thank you to you for coming on and taking those questions and letting the members know what's happening. By the way, lots of you commenting on getting out in the media on this issue. Have no fear. We will be out there as far and wide as we possibly can in the coming weeks. The reality, though, is at this juncture, we need to win the ballot. So our full concentration has to be on delivering the vote, because there's no good having articles in the newspaper if we ain't got the vote over the line. So, we need to do our job, get the vote out, and then we'll get into the media. So just so you know that. So thank you to Mark. Also, thank you to all of you who have jumped on that with no notice and joined us. Thank you if you're watching it on catch up. The message is really, really simple. We need you to get the vote out, spend every sort of second or minute in the workplace you can for the next 2 weeks, making sure all your colleagues have voted, and then we'll put ourselves in a position where we can defend you, via strike action if that's what's needed. So for Mark and I, that's all. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and might see some of you again at midday with Davey on the Parsifal session. See you later, everyone.